Hello there guys, RMP792 here. Right, I promised in the Sunrider review that since I couldn't talk about spoilers there, I would talk about them in a vlog that I would release at about half an hour after the review. This is that vlog. So, you have been warned. I'm going to slap the word spoilers right in the title of this vlog. So, if you're not aware, there are spoilers in this vlog because I'm going to talk about very specific things in the plot of Sunrider Liberation Day. Okay, is that enough spoiler warnings for you? I don't want anybody complaining in the in the comment section that I didn't give you enough spoiler warnings. So spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right. I do not buy the Shields Chigara romance. That honestly is my biggest problem with Liberation Day, is that I just don't personally see the romance between the two of them. Don't get me wrong, I like Chigara, but there's a difference between liking someone and wanting to jump their bones. And I don't know what it is about Chigara. I think she's just... Honestly, it's that... I just want to open a bakery. It's that kind of thing. It's just, oh god, cliched. But yeah, for whatever reason, I just don't buy the romance between them. And given that a lot of kind of the plot of this one kind of hinges on that, that's a wee bit of a problem. Because let's face it, without the Shields Chigara romance, you don't get the Asaga jealousy plot, so she doesn't flip out, so Claude doesn't get quote-unquote killed. And by the way, this has spoilers for the beta ending as well. So yeah, that... Honestly, that whole subplot, which was a fairly major subplot, I just didn't buy. So that's kind of an issue. What else was the issue? The other issue kind of is that, pretty much as I stated in the review, it feels like this one is shorter because it feels like less happens. Even though lengthwise it is at it's the longest Sunrider main game yet. It's shorter than Academy in terms of the actual Let's Play length, but it's a solid length Let's Play. I've got no problems with that. But it feels a lot shorter because, as I say, it feels like less happens. It probably doesn't help that originally at Mask of Arcadius they basically announced next part is the rebirth of the Holy Ruvian Empire. And then the Holy Ruvian Empire doesn't actually turn up until the post-credits teaser scene for the next game. So it kind of feels like we're stalling in place, waiting for the actual plot that was promised to us originally. So yeah. And it does definitely feel like a bunch of the characters get pushed to the back. Ava gets very little to do, barring berating him about letting her... not letting her go down and get her arm shot off. Claude, Sola doesn't have a massive amount to do apart from, be Asaga's proverbial shoulder to cry on. Claude feels like she's getting really screwed over because she basically does nothing except make perverted jokes. Because, well, okay, perverted jokes are Claude's thing. I've got no problem with that. But she feels like she's getting screwed over until, she does come back in and basically points out that, oh, you dickheads have been ignoring me this whole time. And that redeems that a bit, and then she gets killed. And that feels a bit sort of, oh, what the hell, guys? But with the beta ending, we know that she is actually some sort of mastermind who was the traitor all along. And can I just say, called it! I called that bloody ages ago. Especially when Sola basically admits that Claude appears to be God. Okay, I could get behind that idea. So I'm assuming that means that Claude was basically the being that Shield spoke to in Sunrider Academy. As in that universe's version of Shields, because they basically admitted that it's basically an alternate universe, but it's still connected by a multiverse. So, yeah, so the implication there is very much that the being that Shield talks to towards the end of Sunrider Academy, when he's trying to prevent Sola from vanishing forever, is actually Claude. Which is interesting. God is a pervert with huge boobs. I can get behind that version of God. So yeah, that's an interesting thing, and I'm curious to see where they go with it, because Claude is actually weirdly, Claude is one of my favourite characters in the games, because the whole Chigara's the awkward virgin thing, seen it a million bloody times in these kind of games. It's boring, frankly. I've seen it too often. Claude basically being this, I'm a slut, I don't care what you say. Yeah. We need more characters like that. I'm not kidding. Here's the thing. Claude is very perverted, but it's never done as a yes, it's done for a joke, but it's done the exact same way that a male character who was that. Actually, no. I suppose she is handled very differently from a male character who's kind of that perverted, because they'd usually be done either a good-looking guy who's who's really into women, and thus they'd be like, oh yeah, dude, totally. Or he'd be a really creepy-looking guy who'd be that into women, and everybody would be like, no, just don't even try it. And Claude's definitely kind of more more on the attractive scale of that idea, because nobody gives a crap. Even Ava doesn't really give her much crap for being as perverse as she is. Because at the end of the day, she does her job. And if she wants to flirt shamelessly with absolutely everybody she comes across, who cares? And I'm actually completely okay with that. As for the rest of the cast, who else? I feel like I'm missing somebody important. Oh yeah, Kriska and Ikari. Again, Kriska and Ikari, bar a couple of genuinely good scenes together, don't actually get terribly much to do in this game. Up until the end, where Kriska basically has to make a choice between her loyalty to the crew and her loyalty to the Alliance. And yes, that's a good scene. More of that, please. And because let's face it, the question that's always asked is, if you did have your choice of romances in this game, who would you go for? So I'm going to take them one by one. Asaga. No. Don't get me wrong, like Asaga, but again, for a start, she was incredibly jealous to the point of psychosis, without even being in a relationship with Shields, which means that you don't get to play the psychotic jealous ex card when you're not even the ex. So, or the psychotic jealous girlfriend card when you're not even the girlfriend. So, yeah, she's out. Chigara, no, for reasons that I explained earlier. Ikari. Okay, I like Ikari, but the reason I wouldn't want to be in a romance with her is the exact same reason I wouldn't want to be in a romance with Kriska, because I am freely admitting I'm one of the fans who ships the hell out of those two. They've been written so unsubtly to ship the hell out of those two that, it's not even surprising that I do that. So, frankly, I wouldn't want to mess up any relationship those two had. So, neither of those two. And that basically leaves us with Sola, Claude, and Ava. I think. Am I missing anybody? No, that's everybody. Sorry, I had to think through it in terms of my combat formation. So yeah, that leaves us with Sola, Claude, or Ava. Sola was the one I actually went for in Sunrider Academy. And again, I like Sola. She's an interesting character. She's the person at a time. She's very reserved. But again, I'm not sure if I would... Again, I think it's partly down to the bleeding art style, because every character looks like they're about 16 at the oldest, probably younger. Which, yeah, that's a very common thing in the way that anime and manga tend to draw female characters, and I'm not sure why it is, but for whatever reason, they all look really young. Ava, by far, looks the oldest. She actually looks like she's in about her mid-20s. And Claude, again, probably just because it's impossible to imagine a child with boobs that large, again, looks like she's actually of age. So, yeah, Sola... I like Sola, but I'm not sure if I'd go with a romance option with her. So at this point, it's down to basically Ava or Claude. And to be fair, if you pick Claude, you at least get to shack up with God. So, which sounds reasonable to me. So, but yeah, so as I said, the problem with Claude is we've got no idea what the hell her motives are, other than the fact that she apparently is just doing this because she can. I really get the impression Claude is basically a bored deity who's just curious to see what the hell will happen when she messes with people. Which, to be fair, is kind of interesting. She is basically she's Loki with boobs. Let's use that description. Except she doesn't want to take over stuff. She just wants to, have a laugh, see what happens. So, yeah. So, of those two, I'd go with either Ava or Claude, and probably Claude, purely because at least she doesn't yell at at least she doesn't yell at Shields all the time. Because the classic thing is, depending on the game, you will either pick the romance option you prefer, or you'll pick the romance option you feel is right for the character. Take, for example, The Witcher 3. Of the available romance choices in Witcher 3, I personally would pick Triss. However, for most of my playthroughs, I pick Yennefer because, frankly, it feels more natural for Geralt to pick Yennefer than it does for him to pick Triss. Does that make sense? The Geralt-Yennefer relationship feels more realistic than the Geralt-Triss relationship. And frankly, because Geralt actually feels more like a character in his own right, Shields, because he has less dialogue and you rarely see him, feels more like a cipher for me. And again, there are some characters, whereas Mass Effect, for example, depending on which mood I'm in, determines which romance option I'll go for. Because again, there are some that, for example, I don't tend to romance certain characters if I'm doing a Paragon playthrough, or certain characters if I'm doing a Renegade playthrough. Because some romances feel more natural if I'm playing as Paragon or Renegade. And again, that's determined by the characters and how they interact. So, yeah, I've talked about the romance issue for quite a while now, but that's kind of a big thing. The big twist ending, where everything basically goes to crap, and then you ram the Sunrider into Machiavelli Actual. Can I just point out here that Machiavelli Actual, in current naval terms, basically means the captain of the Machiavelli, rather than because the way they're referring to it, given that we've seen Machiavellis before, I would assume they basically operate under the same principle that Starfleet does, which is the class of ship is named after the first ship to be of that class. So the Enterprise D, for example, is a Galaxy class ship because the first Galaxy class ship was the USS Galaxy. The Excelsior class ships are named after the USS Excelsior and things like that. So I'm assuming they're meaning that that's basically that's the ship Machiavelli, and it was the first of the Machiavelli class. Anyway, that is a really stupid quibble that I just love. I love being quibbly about terminology. But anyway, so the Sunrider is destroyed at the end of Sunrider Liberation Day, but we now know that there's something, and we don't know what, buried on the moon of Ruvia. And it's almost certain to turn out to be some sort of really powerful warship that we're going to name the Sunrider 2. You can see it coming right now. Meanwhile, Shields has gone into hiding on Tirada, and everybody's off doing their own thing. So Kriska's going to turn herself into the Alliance to try and restore some of their lost honor. So I suspect we'll get and Akari's basically going to end up having to bust her out of jail. I'm calling that now. Cosette, who... Why the hell did we give Cosette her bloody rider back? I really wish we could have just told her to piss off, because I didn't need her, I didn't want her. So she's loose again, which was dumb of us. Chigara's inside the prototype's hive mind now, so goodness knows what that's going to do. Asaga's off with Ava, trying to locate that sort of super ship that's hidden on the Ruvian moon. What else are we missing? Solar's sticking with Shields to basically act as his bodyguard. And goodness knows what the hell Claude's doing, because Claude is a mischievous deity who's going to do whatever the hell she feels like. And for now, she is at least on our side. So, And meanwhile, we've got Crow, whoever the hell that is, coming in from the ancient Peruvian Empire, who's going to try and conquer everything. Meanwhile, the Pact fleet's just been put under the command of... can't remember her name, because she's a brand new character, but that's okay. Give us a new central antagonist to work with. And it sounds like it's someone I can actually respect as an antagonist, because she basically says flat out from the beginning, we've been bombing civilian targets and we've been doing that kind of stuff, and that stops now. And yes, I can respect a villain with honor, so I'm curious to see where that goes. So yeah, basically my final thoughts are pretty much what I said in the review. It's definitely the weakest part so far is Liberation Day. The forced romance was a mistake on the developer's part. And yeah, that's the main things that I've got. Oh, by the way, if you're curious to know what the decensoring patch does, the two images that kind of had black bits over them, the black bits get removed, so you can basically see a little bit of thrusting from Shield into Chigara, but you can't actually see anything that I would have had to black box, so I probably could have got away with that. And the other one where she's sort of lying down, where I had to black box a boob, you can actually see her completely naked there. So yeah, again, I probably made the right call not putting the decentering patch on, because it doesn't, unlike Academy, it doesn't add in a graphic sex scene between the two. All you see is just Chigara is Asaga overhearing them and then running away and going a bit mental. So yeah, if you were hoping for a really sort of comprehensive smut patch, this isn't it. But yeah, that's basically my final thoughts on Sunrider Liberation Day. Disappointing, but I'm hoping it sets up a really excellent, spectacular finale. And as I said in the review, Love and Space have earned enough good credit with me that I think they can pull it off, because they've shown a willingness to learn from their mistakes, and if they can refocus their efforts into the stuff we all really want to see. So, really good story, lots of character scenes, some really epic battles. I trust them to learn from their mistakes and really pull it off. So, it feels like the next one's probably going to be the last one, unless they really try and drag it out. But we'll see. But yeah, so for now, I think that's all I've got. So I will say thank you very much for watching, and yeah, I will see you in future videos. Next week, incidentally, no Let's Play, and the next couple of weeks are going to be a bit dodgy because I've got various things going on. As I mentioned in the review, I am going down to York for the British Federation of Historical Sword Plays Spring Exchange. So that's going to take up a bit of time, and there's various other things going on. But while I'm at the Spring Exchange, I'll actually try and catch some video footage, so you can see some HEMA stuff, because it's part of my life and I really do love it. So I'll try and get some footage of me doing some free play maybe, and I'll probably try and get some footage of a couple of the tournaments, which will actually be fun. I'm not fighting in the tournaments because I'm not that crazy. I don't have anywhere near enough protective gear yet, even with my new Gambeson, which again you saw at the end of the review. Because let's face it, things you are strongly advised to have in tournaments: back shield for your fencing mask, full padding for the torso, arm guards in addition to any Gambeson, full gauntlets and gloves, which I do have, leg plates, shin plates, a cup so that if you get hit in the balls, it's not as bad, because that happens occasionally. I remember it. I can't remember which of them it was, but there are two brothers who do HEMA with me called the Belshaws. I can't remember which of them it was, but one of them, when they were taking their prize play, got hit in the balls twice with a sword, which is not fun. There's a lot of recommended padding, and basically I don't have all of it yet, so I'm not crazy enough to enter a tournament yet, but I'll try and capture some video footage so you can see some of that, and yeah, So, as I say, content for the next couple of weeks is going to be dodgy. I'll do what I can, but we'll see. At the very least, I'm determined to make sure you get something every Friday. But ultimately, yeah, that's basically all I've got. So, for the time being, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in future videos.